Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up Warchant. Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
It feels like things will never be the same. I hope that someday you'll forgive me.
Wake up! Go back to bed. It's over. What up, everybody? We're going to have fun. I'm going to try to, at least, in the parts of the show where we can have fun. And
where
then
are you in the stages of grief?
I've just been. I don't know.
You were mad last night leaving the stadium.
Yeah.
You were angry.
I was very angry.
Are you past anger now to acceptance? Are you in denial? Where are we?
Accept denial.
Okay. All right.
It's like
it's hard to accept still.
No, I just do, and I'm upset about it. And then that's why I was upset, because people that I respect, my peers, are like, Aslan, it's really not that big of a deal. When you really think about it and boil it down to its essence, the bowl streak's for losers.
Trust me, that's nonsense.
And I can't. It's like arguing with people who think the world's flat. Like, I can't talk to you about what I'm feeling anymore because you minimize this, you diminish. You don't think it's a big deal.
No, that's nonsense. Of course, it's something to be proud of. It's like saying, "Sorry, Joe, you didn't get a hit in your 57th game." Nobody really cared anyway. Yeah. They only cared when you were hitless in your first 3 at-bats.
Right.
That's the only time they cared about your streak. It's like, no, that doesn't make sense. Of course people care. You should care. It was something to be really proud of. It had to end sometime.
But in this day and age, it didn't. In this day and age with 80 bowl teams,
everybody does it. Florida's 2 in the last 4 years has missed a bowl. How does that happen? And like you pointed out, I think the winning season was that's the one that's should be more of a feather in the cap. Pardon the pun. Well, Seminole Indians don't wear caps. Feather in the headdress. Because, I mean, that doesn't happen. You can go to a bowl and go 6-7. That happens every year.
Right.
Having a winning season is a big deal. Doing it for 41 straight years is that to me is an impossible streak. I don't know that will ever be equaled. Because Alabama's rolling now. Guess what? Miami was rolling.
Yeah.
Nebraska was rolling. Clemson's rolling now. Clemson's winning season streak is like 7.
Right.
It's just it's when you really take a step back and look at it, it was just a really remarkable streak. And I was talking to you guys, like, I guess you can't do anything because you don't want to admit the game is over. But you could have had some sort of package maybe dialed up for the video board in the stadium.
Yeah. That would have made it worse.
You think so? Like it would have just even hammered it home? Probably, especially because by that time when you knew it was over, most of the people still there were Gator fans, so they would have relished in it.
Those losers traveled in hordes.
Really bizarre, too, because it was a noon kickoff. So they drove over at like 7 in the morning for that game. Anyway, congrats, Gators. You did it.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's so many moving parts to it that, like, then you don't that just hits me right there that it was Florida who delivered the fatal blow. Just all these things add up, pile up, and it leaves you.
Much like Florida State did last year when they ended Florida's bowl streak at 2.
Suck it, Jim McElwain. Or Randy Shannon.
Randy Shannon.
You're never getting a job anywhere.
Yeah, your bowl streak's over, Gators.
Let's get heavy for a real quick minute, Corey. I mean, I don't like getting heavy on the program. People don't like it when we get heavy, but the president talked about it. President John Thrasher, that is.
Okay.
Apparently there was some ridiculous, absolutely vile, ridiculous bullshit. I'm going to go ahead and just say that. I'll censor it out, though, probably, but I'll say it again, bullshit.
Okay.
That somebody posted on social media with Willie Taggart's face crudely photoshopped on a damn photo of a
Thrasher
man.
came out and said, what did Thrasher come out and say?
The Florida State University Twitter account put out a statement that was penned by President John Thrasher said a recent racist social media post aimed at our football coach is ignorant and despicable. I speak for the entire FSU community in expressing our disgust and extreme disappointment, and I am glad the state attorney is investigating. Coach Taggart has our full support, and as true Seminoles know, he is a respected member of the FSU family.
And didn't they find out who didn't social media do what social media does? Like, I thought they doxed him and found out who he was.
Found his LinkedIn and everything. Have fun there. If anybody needs a job with the Hilton family of hotels, might want to go ahead, brush up your resume, send it out to them, be ahead of the curve.
Probably not going to be there on Monday, you think?
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I mean,
Scumbag.
that's, obviously, whether it's a joke or not, it's just
Oh, he
gross.
doubled down. Somebody there was actually a screenshot of his
okay.
Facebook. Like, dude, are you serious about this? He's like, absolutely.
All right, well, then he's just he's an idiot. So when we get into what the problems that all of us have with Willie Taggart, obviously skin color isn't one or shouldn't be one. I'm sure it is for a few, and we don't. Again, that's a dicey subject that I'm not articulate enough to really talk about.
Right.
But I get that it's not racism, obviously, if you're not happy with what you had here.
Okay, right,
you know what I
right.
mean? You're just it's not that. There are some elements, sure. Like there were some elements that weren't happy right away. But by and large, the vast majority of Florida State fans aren't that. They're not that person. No. They're upset because you led the nation in penalties. And you had a Florida kid say, we knew they're the most undisciplined team in the nation, and we're just waiting our turn. Florida kid said that after the game. That should be in your gym. That should be in your workout facility for 360. You can have do something and hashtag be all you can be or whatever they have up there. You need to have hashtag we knew they were the most undisciplined team in the country.
That's a real quote. That Chauncey Gardner
Yep. Chauncey Gardner Jefferson, whatever his name is, Johnson.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Choose two names and go with it. You know what I'm saying? They're all
Dad.
last names.
Mom or dad, pick a side,
They're
buddy.
all last names. That's what makes it crazy. So yeah, put that up there, man. That should embarrass everyone on that staff, and that should embarrass everyone on that football team because he wasn't lying. You are the most undisciplined team in the country, and it's not just the penalties. You fielded your first punt yesterday with 10 guys on the field. On Saturday with 10 guys on the field. Before the half, you tried to punt with 10 guys on the field. The whole game, you're running dudes off onto the field late because you're missing wide receivers. And Chauncey Gardner even said that too. He's like, half the time I'm waving, like, where's the guy I'm supposed to be covering?
There was a Matt Hayes, who's not really a friend of the program. Used to be a national writer. I don't know what he's doing now, but he's a Gator alum, so he's always needling Florida State fans. But there's a clip during the game where Chauncey Gardner-Johnson literally is looking at the Florida State sideline. He, like you said, he's waving at them, basically telling them, you only have 10 guys out here. Florida State runs a receiver out, incomplete pass.
I mean, that's
humiliation.
That's what I'm saying. That's an embarrassment.
Absolute.
That's an embarrassment. And this season is a referendum. It does not mean in 2020, once you get your roster, because 2020 will be your roster. Once you get your guys in here that you can't turn around, you can load it up so much that you almost can't coach them poorly. But right now, it was a terribly coached football team in all aspects. And that's why Florida State fans are right to panic. Not because we don't think he's going to load up the roster. We all know he's going to recruit as long as he wins some games next year.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, doesn't he? I don't want to get to that. Yeah, keep going.
You know what I'm saying? But we all know he's going to load the roster, or he's going to flush what needs to be flushed, and he's going to be his roster in a couple years. But if you're still leading the nation in penalties and still looking like you don't practice, but like kids aren't on the field when they're supposed to be on the field, what does it matter? Okay, great. You win 8 games with a roster that should win 11. Yeah. Are you going to always like this roster? This roster again is a 6-6, 7-5, 5-7 roster. Got it. Like I wouldn't have expected any more, no matter who was coaching here. Once I saw what it was, but you played 5 teams with 9 wins this season, which is tough. That's a tough schedule. You lost by at least 3 touchdowns to all of them. All of them. You were none of the fourth quarters were competitive. You weren't in the games in the fourth quarter against Syracuse, NC State, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Florida. The games were over by the time the fourth quarter started. That you don't have a roster that's that bad. Now it's not good, but that again, that's coaching, man. You 6-6 is fine. 7 if they win the Miami game like they should have. This is a 6-6 team. That's still an embarrassment Saturday, the streak or not. How do you like? I know he said he was gonna self-evaluate, What's he saying to himself? He knows they're not well coached on any facet.
There's like nothing redeeming about this team.
Yeah. And a lot of them come back. So it needs to be some serious self-evaluation, because that was, again, I thought there's just no justification for that on Saturday. That is not a great football team that they lost to. Yet your manhood was challenged and you couldn't stop them. You made Felipe Franks look like Danny Werfel. Yeah, Terry Dean. Oh. Yeah, Terry Dean's a good one. Made him look like Noah Brandeis.
Oh.
All the Florida greats. And you made their defense look like the 2008 defense. You couldn't do anything except two drives that, by the way, were like 90 seconds long. Mm. Like, you saw it again, but you only see it for a few moments, and you can't block anyone, and blah, blah, blah.
Well, I guess, is that the encouraging thing? Because I don't want to be a hypocrite. Hypocrites are the worst behind racists, obviously.
If you find a racist hypocrite, boy.
Oh, man, have fun. That, again, I wasn't going to judge this by comparing week 1 to week 13, game 1 to game 12. Just wasn't the way I thought we were going to have to really measure this program and this team. But that said, they obviously haven't looked any better Saturday against Florida than they did Monday night against Virginia Tech. But I guess the fact that they did have those glimpses, and we have seen the glimpse of the offense looking pretty good, like that's not blind luck kind of stuff, right? That's when these kids know what they're doing, they're showing their athleticism, they're calling up the right plays, that this can work. But are people concerned that when people think it's not going to work, I think they feel that the offense is going to score points at some point, but is the reality of these penalties, the special teams gaffes, are those just things that you feel like even when they get to a good point where they're competing with Clemson to win an ACC title, that ultimately those things are going to kind of rear their head in the worst moments of games?
I mean, that's what this season is. That's what this season has been. Why it's been illuminating, I think, because of course that's what the worry is that no, that's not going to get any better, because it didn't get any better from game 1 to game 12, and Florida State has never been Army or Navy or whoever leads the country in fewest penalties, and it's never going to be.
Didn't Bowden say that if discipline won football games,
Army and Navy would play? Oh no, I think it was like Good Manners. If Good Manners and won football games, Army and Navy would play for the national championship every year, which is a good quote. Mm-hmm. He also said a moral victory is like a 6-foot man drowning in 3 feet of water. He's still dead.
Oh, really? He said that?
He said that after they lost to Oklahoma his first year. And yeah, speaking of Bowden's first year. Last time they didn't go to a bowl. Last time they didn't have a winning season. Well, last time they didn't have a winning season was his first year when they went 5-6. But that one was different because they started out terribly.
They were nobody. Respect to Coach Peterson and the people who set the foundation, but still.
They lost their first game, I think, at Memphis, and Memphis was pretty good back then. And then
Memphis State.
It was Memphis State, actually. Then the next game, it was a bad Miami team, a Miami team that went on to finish 4-7. They went down there and lost 47-0. The next week, they played number 1 Oklahoma, and the spread was like 46 points or whatever it was, and the score was like 17-9 in the fourth quarter, and they lost 24-9. And that, to me, is when his program started. Like, I think fans started buying in. They finished that year winning, I think, 3 of the last 4, and maybe even beat Florida. I can't remember. But then the next year they went 10-2, and it was on after that. Like, it still sputtered really for about a decade, but sputtered in the 8-9 win range. But you saw signs that year. And I know I'm going way back before color television almost, but again, that's what worries you about this one is you saw no signs. You saw no signs of them improving.
But there were little glimpses, spurts. Did those make you feel good, or are those like
because they're so few and far between? And then you look at yesterday; they had a couple nice drives. Well, one of them was because Francois decided to look like Johnny Manziel for a play on 4th and 13 and scrambled for 35 yards, and even downfield cut back and almost tried to score. Yeah. Where's that been all year? Where's it been all year? You know, that they ran for like 140 yards in that game or something, 150 yards. Yeah. Where's that been all year? A mobile quarterback makes this thing completely different. Well, why was he not playing? Why was he not playing like that? These last 2 weeks, they've had more design runs than they had the whole season because he was hurt. He still wasn't healthy. And if he wasn't healthy, then he shouldn't have been playing at the beginning of the season because he did not give them a good chance to win at the beginning of the season. In this offense, you need a guy that can move, especially when you can't block. That's the only way you're going to have a running game is if a quarterback does some of it. That's the only way you can do it. They never did the Cam stuff.
None.
I mean,
Cam Akers threw more passes under Jimbo Fisher than he did against Willie Taggart and Walt Bell.
And then just to sum up the entire season, they run a trick play. It's sort of open. It's executed okay. And my man just falls down. Perfect throw by DJ. Yeah. The best throw a Florida State player made all day. And my man just falls down on his butt. And I even said
stayed in the game, and they didn't
ran right back to the field. But I mean, he didn't mean to. But it's like,
but you got to get pulled. You have to get pulled immediately in that situation.
I feel like in that play, the way it's designed, Gabe Neighbors is supposed to be by himself. Why would they be chasing Gabe Neighbors? Otherwise, just throw it up to Terry. Yeah. It was just the whole execution was weird. It wasn't executed perfectly. It was open, but he wasn't going to score. It wasn't a walk-in, and then they would have the ball at the 30, and then what would they have done? I don't know. I'm rambling. I ramble about this team.
No, you're not rambling.
But when you look at the offense, there's some things, I guess, but who's the quarterback? Is this kid that we saw yesterday going to be the quarterback again? Is that really going to happen? And
That's the one question I wanted to get in that I wasn't able to because, everybody had to, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of weird questions asked in the Saturday post-game news conference. I just wanted to be like,
Not by Ira. I thought Ira brought it.
No, Ira brought it. Yeah. Gene brought it as well.
And Gene asked the question that I was going to ask about what do you mean by self-evaluating? So once he asked, I didn't feel the need to. Plus, I'm tweeting out the quotes.
My whole thing, I just want to be like, you've obviously preserved James Blackman's red shirt with the way the season finished out. Like, what can he do, or what does he have to do that he's got a better shot at starting for you next year when DeAndre was hurt?
Yeah,
that's the one thing that we're never going to get probably a solid answer to, at least here in the immediate future, but is a really bizarre thing. And I know people want to say it's not 12's fault, it's the offensive line's fault. Get it? It's noted. What are the numbers again, Corey? What is Jawan Williams? 800 whatever.
Well, 849 out of 849.
Yeah.
Brady Scott was 816. I don't know if he went up or down. I'll have to check. I'll have to get back with you on it.
So all that's noted. It is noted.
And it's not something, again, and I wrote this Saturday after the game. You can't just shrug it off and say, yeah, we get it, the offensive line's bad. It's a disaster. Yeah. And it really is hard to get anything rolling consistently when your offensive line is so bad. Not just kind of bad, but so bad. Yeah. I didn't think they really, until these and you saw, these last few weeks, it still wasn't great, obviously, the offense, but I thought they tried different things that they hadn't tried all season to help out. Mm-hmm. And then this game, they got behind, and then, it was just, 5 sacks? But the 2 games before that, I think he'd only been sacked a couple of times in those games because he was getting rid of the ball quick. This game, they didn't do a lot of quick stuff, and it cost him. But he did run some, so.
I think it was 23 pressures. So hurries, hits, and sacks.
Yeah.
23.
And
then Florida was
literally
12
guys like
or 10.
Brady Scott might be the center next year. Yeah. He might be the starting center. He might be a guard. He's a redshirt freshman that has a chance to be a good player. Like I think he's somebody. He could be a building block in the middle for you. He's not a tackle, and heaven knows the other guys aren't tackles either. And so when you're always getting guys flying at you, it's hard to do anything. And plus, I thought they ran okay. They didn't bust any big runs in that game. I thought Patrick ran hard, Akers ran hard, and then again, you're down 10-0. You hit a crazy pass down the sideline. Run a good throw, but Cam makes a nice catch and then explodes for a 70-yard touchdown. Your senior receiver was moving before the snap. Yeah. It sums up the season. It was just it was deflating. The whole season was deflating. It sums up the whole season.
Well, I don't know if that's such a low bar that I'm trying to set, going back to this whole fact that we saw this offense at times look good, but I guess any offense in the nation.
You're going to have some moments.
You're going to have moments, right? Did we have this conversation off there that I feel like some of my worst shows are when I'm trying to be positive, when I just really want to be who I am?
Yeah, because people, it comes off as fake. We know what you're really feeling in there, and you're kind of tempering it a little bit. You got a governor on right now.
Dude, I read some iTunes reviews for the first time in a long time. Man, y'all people are rude as hell.
Well, don't read them now.
No. Well, it's funny because a lot of them from September.
Oh.
They're like, Aslan's his fake anger, fake tough guy is really annoying. Like, I wonder what those people are saying now. Because September, not that they're on board. Nobody can be happy right now.
No, of course not.
Nobody can be happy.
No, how could you? And that's what I wrote. Like, even if you think Willie's going to win 2 national championships before he's done here, you can't say the 18 team was well coached.
Right.
You just can't. Doesn't mean the program's going to stay in the tank, but it's in the tank. The roster's not good, and instead of putting out the fire, the dumpster fire that kind of was the roster, they squirted gasoline all over that bad boy.
Oxygen,
yeah.
All right, well, here's the thing that we're going to talk about for the next probably 18 to 24 months. Well, then, how is this going to get fixed then? Does he need supreme talent at every single position to be successful? These mistakes, that's not a talent problem, is it? Like Naquan Murray, it's not that Naquan Murray's not a good receiver, that he's not an intelligent kid, that he doesn't know when to line up.
Yeah.
Is that not being drilled properly?
I don't know, but then also how do you coach that out of Stanford Samuels to not do that when it's that big a play, big a moment in the game? Just like how do you not coach that out of
Nick Saban's guys don't do that.
I know.
Brian Kelly's guys don't do that.
Well, I mean, he just was 3-9 a couple years ago, so they must have done a lot of wrong then. But what Brian Kelly did, and we talked about it last year when we didn't know Jimbo was leaving, was Brian Kelly changed a lot of things. He changed how he was as a person.
Charlie Strong doesn't do that too.
He fired coaches.
Yeah.
He just completely transformed his program. I think they might have told him he had to, or he's going to be gone after a 3-9. And now that's 2 good years. I think they've won, 20 of their last 22, 23 games?
Sounds about right.
He made changes. And I know Willie's confident, and I know he's been in this before, where he's like, all right, trust the process. Man,
it's different.
It's different here. And I don't know what those first seasons at Western Kentucky and South Florida looked like. I assume, the South Florida was like 2-10, right? Yeah. But they were also coming off, I think, a winless season. So he really had to build that back up. But I assume there were some improvements made.
But look at Scott Frost, man. Scott Frost took a winless UCF team and had them winning 7 games, I think, in his first year. I should actually look that up.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is looking at those first-year coaches. Like, I don't know. I assume Nebraska fans are happy because they almost won that last game. Well, they're 4-8. UCLA's 3-9. Florida State's 5-7. And then the one guy, I think, and I'm not saying Jimbo because Jimbo took over a bowl team. Obviously, you got to give credit to Dan Mullen. He took over a team that
I thought you were going to talk about Herm Edwards.
That didn't. Oh, did they? Yeah, how
did they scored 20 unanswered
I
to
saw
win
that.
the
And they
Territorial Cup.
They were unanswered. Good
Yeah.
job. Good use.
Yeah, man.
Did they have a winning season?
Yeah.
I don't know what they were last year, though. I know Florida wasn't good, and Felipe Franks was terrible, and he turned them into at least a serviceable quarterback. And they won 9 games. Wasn't the hardest schedule in the world. I got it. They didn't. I don't know who they beat that was good besides
They beat
LSU.
Mississippi State. That was ranked. LSU was ranked. That was good. I mean, Tennessee's a rivalry game. They dismantled Tennessee. I know a lot of teams did too, but
yeah,
you got to win those games. They won them.
They had those games where they looked good. Mm-hmm. Florida State, other than again the Wake game, I don't think they looked good at all the whole year. Like when you say they played well.
And you don't get credit for Wake Forest.
They played above their heads. You see what Wake did to Duke, son? 59-7.
Arizona State was 7-6 last year. They're currently 7-5.
All right, and like the same thing with A&M. Like I think if you're looking at A&M,
second in the SEC West, brother.
They were. I mean, that was a crazy, crazy game. Like
highest scoring game in FBS history.
Like the kid's knee is down.
Yeah, that game.
Or the game, but even still, that was such a break because if they would have ruled him down,
right,
they would have taken 12 or 14 seconds before they could have run another play, and then it was just the perfect way.
The last play they got off in regulation was nonsense. There was 3 seconds on the clock. He totally didn't spike it before it went to 0. But there's 1 second.
I think they were lined up incorrectly too. But my point there is that A&M probably, 7-5, 8-4, whatever. They probably blew the Auburn game that they should have won. They won this game they probably shouldn't have. But it was even. We saw it was about as even it could be. I would think just looking at that team, you're like, okay, I see some things that I haven't seen. I saw defense.
Almost beat Clemson. Hang tough with Alabama for a half.
Again, he got the money to hire a really good defensive coordinator, but they played tough, and he's got a good offensive line, which he certainly hasn't been blessed here in a while.
Former NFL offensive line coach Jim O'Neill's his offensive line.
But he had good players there too, which helped. But there's a record almost doesn't matter when you're looking at that team. You're like, you know what? They hung. It's not just that they beat LSU. Whether they win or lose because of that crazy play at the end of the game, they hung with LSU. They hung with Clemson. They didn't get blown off the field. And this team just gets blown up. They lost 7 games. Fine. 6 of them were by 20 points or more.
Yeah. Jim Turner, by the way, that's the A&M.
Yeah, I mean, Jimbo got some good guys on his staff.
They're going to probably be preseason ranked, I bet, top 10 in 2019. I mean, Florida State, maybe just because of our brand recognition.
Oh, no, they aren't going to be ranked, nor should they be. But again, the biggest, I think what Willie has to do, number one, whatever it takes to get offensive linemen here, whatever it takes.
It doesn't look good, though. Michael Langston's latest update doesn't really – I mean, obviously that kid decommitted last week. I don't see that Will Putnam kid from Tampa coming here. It sounds like Auburn. It's between Florida State and Auburn. I just don't see how he comes here.
I'm being serious.
Son
here.
of a military.
What kind of what amount
family.
check needs to get to him? 500,000. Military kid, maybe donate it to like the Wounded Warriors program or something if he comes here, something like that in his name. That's not would that be a violation?
Probably, but I like it though. I mean,
at least it's to a good cause, a great cause.
I mean, this JUCO kid, this Bland guy that's I think playing out in Arizona, he's committed to Nebraska. Good grief! Sideline reporter was quite fetching.
Good job, Asla.
Sorry. So this JUCO offensive lineman they want to go to for instant, plug and play ability, quick fix sort of stuff. He's committed to Nebraska. Why would you, unless you're from Florida and you're all the way on the other side of the country going to JUCO, like why would you want to come play here right now?
No, especially the way it looks. I mean, I do think you can point to Greg Fry and not just what he did at Michigan. That was a really bad offensive line that he turned into a pretty good one, and then this year it was really good. I think, at least judging by the numbers and stuff.
Well, I think people said he was like a tight ends tackles coach kind of thing. Like he wasn't the O-line coach. He had a weird sort of title at Michigan.
Oh, look that up. So, but he was the O-line coach in Indiana and had some really good guys there.
Yeah.
So he has a track record.
Tackles and tight ends coach / run game coordinator.
There you go. So he has a track record that's pretty
proven.
You got to hope kids want to buy into Greg Fry and want to go play for him. And also, you look at the line next year. Who do you think's starting? Like you got Minshew?
Brady Scott maybe in center. Maybe Bavion finally figures out a guard spot, although he was always playing center. Minshew's health is
Brady
in
Scott.
doubt.
Dickerson's
health.
Count on Dickerson. You just can't count on him. He's your best guy, but you can't count on him because he can't stay healthy. It's not his fault. Just can't stay healthy.
Maybe Bello gets to be serviceable with another spring and
the kid coming in, the freshman coming in, the two redshirting guys,
the Pope, Dante Lucas.
Yeah,
again, these are all guards. They're flush with guards. They could guard. I don't think has really been that big of it. It's just the tackle position.
Get two good guards in a good center. Do everything up the middle, man. Just find some strength on that offensive line.
Right.
Whatever you got to do to roid them up. Get him strong, whatever it takes. I'm telling you, man, it's really bizarre, and he's not recruiting like Kirby did his first year. But 2 years ago, Georgia's offensive line was not good. Yeah. They weren't really good on either side of the ball on the line of scrimmage. But their offensive line wasn't good at all. And then the next year, they get to the championship game, and I believe they started like two freshmen or three freshmen. One was a redshirt. So they got in.
I think one of them was that 5-star Isaiah.
Yeah, they don't have
from
that.
Like New York State.
But now Georgia, just 2 years later, after having that was the weakness of their team, they have the best line in the country. I don't foresee that happening. That's not easy to do, but you can just become like a top 5 ACC offensive line.
Yeah, with
everything else around you, especially if you have a quarterback that can move a little bit, it should be a good offense. But they don't have an offensive line.
And receivers are all coming back, other than Naquan Murray, obviously. We know Keith Gavin, who knows? I mean, Keith Gavin he fell out of favor. He's the only guy that the whole Clemson.
Myers too. Kyle Myers stopped playing until didn't really get see the field much at all until I think he played in the Florida game a good bit. And Levonta Taylor, I don't know. I mean, that's a pesky hamstring, huh? You missed the final month.
Well, they said he had that stress fracture in his back.
Yeah. But, we'll see. I know there was a report saying he would come back. Yeah. We'll see if he comes back. You obviously just got to get better all the way across the board. And Willie even said, I mean, you don't want to say it because you still got kids on the team. Even if they're seniors, you don't want to be rude to them, but they got to go recruit a different kind of kid. Just somebody that I know I shouldn't use Telvin Smith because he's an anomaly. But somebody like a football player, man, a football player, not a dude that looks good in the combine. A football player, man, and like a Keyshawn Helton, that dude is a football player. He's not going to blow you away, obviously, with his size. I know he didn't do much against Florida, but, man, except the crazy kick return that he decided to bring out. Again, what are you going to do?
Hey, man, confidence.
What are you going to do? You got to make plays. Hey, he's trying to make plays.
Confidence breeds confidence.
Trying to
breeds
make plays. But that dude's a football player. Get you some of them.
Yeah.
You can win with those guys. You can build with those guys. They don't have a lot of that. They don't really have a lot of tough dudes.
The difficult thing I think is going to be in terms of the recruiting this caliber of player. Like Jimbo was able to do it. He was able to get LaMarcus Joyner and Telvin Smith to buy into a 7-6 team.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Jimbo didn't have a track record of being an NFL guy. I mean, Jimbo had the national championship at LSU. That was pretty much the only thing he had. I mean, otherwise, that was a rather mundane, mediocre, pedestrian offense that he helmed. There was nothing about that offense that was amazing.
It was good. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
But Jimbo made his bones really. Obviously Jameis helped. It's not like he recruited a ton of great wide receivers to Florida State, man. Yeah. He loaded up the defense in the secondary and the defensive line. Loaded it up with great players. That would help. Go find you some Jalen Ramseys or some LaMarcus Joyners or some Timmy Jernigans.
Yeah, guys that you think
or even DeMarcus Walkers.
Yeah. Although, man, he hasn't played at all.
He hasn't done much with the Broncos. Yeah.
But I think it's because he's in a 3-4 and he's not really suited for that.
Yeah. It was kind of like Bjorn.
Way to draft him, though, everybody.
Yeah.
You know these limitations. But, what is Willie going to be able to – I know Willie has the charisma. Willie has the personality. But at the end of the day, it's a 5-7 team. There wasn't anything redeeming about this. Any unit on this team where, you're going to come, you're going to get really good defensive back coaching. You're going to come, you're going to get really good offensive line coaching. There's none of that.
Right.
Love Odell. Odell's safe until the end of time.
Well, Odell's
Look, they didn't look good either,
no,
man.
They didn't.
Nobody looked good.
DeMarcus Christmas just did not have a good senior season. It's fine. He didn't. It's easy. It's fine to say that. Didn't have a ton of depth either on the defensive front. Kendo didn't do much at all. I don't remember him playing much until the end.
Yeah.
Janarius, it's a lot of pedestrian guys and Marvin Wilson. That's what that defensive line is. They got to get better there. And, Odell will always be able to recruit and land those guys because talk about a track record. Goodness. He's been doing it forever. So they shouldn't have a problem loading up on in the middle of the interior. You got to get better edge guys. Yeah. You got to.
But I just don't know if can he.
I think so, man, because you think about Jimbo, they were coming off a 7-6 season, which was really close. Again, that bowl streak should have ended that game. If they wouldn't have punted to Greg Reed, it would have been over. And he somehow sold this transition that with this but
they didn't look this bad. They weren't such a undisciplined, reckless,
defense,
sloppy team.
I guess,
but that wasn't his thing. I'm not the defensive guy. This guy's leaving. God bless him.
Yeah, he could stress that it was going to be change, but still, it took leaps of faith from a guy like LaMarcus Joyner that could have gone anywhere in the country. Telvin Smith could have gone to, it was Georgia, so they weren't anything special either. But those guys, Jernigan could have gone anywhere. All these guys could have gone anywhere they wanted, and they took that leap with a guy that had never been a head coach, that had been an offensive coordinator for 3 years, and they had lost 16 times in 3 years of him being an offensive coordinator. And then he becomes the head coach, and all of a sudden he's loading it up. That class was like a top 5 class. The next year was the number 1 class with Jernigan and those guys. I think Willie can do it. I do. I don't know if he can do it to that level because those 2 classes in particular were ridiculous. It was a perfect storm of a lot of things. Urban leaving helped a lot. Miami going through their normal transition helped a lot. So he kind of ran the state. Both these programs that Willie's recruiting against now are more stable. So he doesn't quite have that. But man, I don't question his ability to recruit. I think he's going to get guys, and he's going to win a lot of recruiting battles. Again, if you coach like that on the field on Saturdays, you better win all the recruiting battles for it not to matter. You better be so loaded. Like I always make the joke, you and I could have coached Florida State to the 2013 championship game at least. Might not have won it in Pasadena. I don't know what we're calling on I just throw it up to KB every play. They'd probably dial it. They'd probably get that. They'd probably figure that out. But, we could have coached that team. That was great recruiting, and they were also well coached and they developed well. We know he can recruit. Can he develop them? Is he evaluating the right kids? Is he bringing the right kids in? Because Jimbo, all these kids were wanted.
These turds or whatever you want to call these. Everybody else wanted these kids too.
But that's what's so bizarre is did he know? That's a good question. You're the Jimbo honk. Yeah. Do you think he knew what this roster really was? And that was part. I know $75 million is $75 million, but do you think that made it a lot easier for him to walk away knowing what this was?
It's the devil you know against the devil you don't know. At least he knows this roster. What A&M? How much would he look at A&M and be like, actually, you know what? I'm going to look at their roster. Was he spending nights not planning for Florida, looking at their roster and seeing what he's got to inherit?
If he knew we had a mentally weak locker room with no leaders, and it wasn't going to turn around because they were all coming back, most of them, I think that probably played a part in it. There's no way he'd have left.
I think
if
the
he had the
13
team coming back, he's not leaving to go coach A&M, no matter if you throw $130 million at him. I think that played a part.
I'm sure you look at everything. You're looking at the money, and then the autonomy you're going to get, and the fresh start. And I'm sure you're looking at some things too that you're like, all right, man. I just don't know if maybe there was too many misses on this one. I missed too many times. We missed too many times in the last few years. I don't think. I'm sure that's part of it. I think a larger part of it, too, is probably the fact that he didn't have faith in these guys that he didn't bring with him at Texas A&M, and he didn't want to go through, for whatever reason, getting rid of them and having to deal with those conversations.
And I think most
Which
Florida
that
State
to me
fans,
is crazy. I don't know if I really believe that. Because if he's as big of a dick as everybody says he is, he couldn't be like, Rick, love you, man. Been a hell of a run.
Crazy,
I've gotten
right?
you paid.
That's what doesn't
You got
make
to beat
sense.
it.
So but he didn't take him with him.
Yeah.
He didn't take Dawsey with him.
No.
But why were they here then? They're not good enough for A&M.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at where this program is right now, look, we're past it. After this season, Jimbo's fingerprints are on this team. It's not his whole fingerprints. Willie's are in there too a lot. So is Walt Bell. So is Harlan Barnett. So is Alonzo Hampton. There's DNA all over it. It's a crime scene. It was a gang murder. But his fingerprints are all over this team. We can do that for this year. Starting next year, man, Jimbo can't keep being blamed. But he can be blamed for this, and I wonder if Florida State fans, I know you, I don't know if you're the outlier or you're more of the common fan. You're more mad at Willie. I wonder how many are really – I talked to a guy last Saturday night, business owner, who was really angry with Jimbo because of what he's doing to local establishment, because what he did to this program, leaving it like this, and what it's done to the local economy. Now, he's got his own issues, but I wonder where most FSU fans fall in their anger. Because I think when you think about the coaching staff, he had a lot of money to pay coaches, and that's what he deemed Florida State caliber.
Yeah.
And he deemed this roster Florida State caliber, and then left it all. I wonder if there's more anger towards him for what he left, or more anger towards Willie because Willie took what he left, a big old mess, and I don't know, wiped his butt with it, threw it in a river. It got messier.
Yeah.
I think pretty classic analogy, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. I'm by the way, I saw somebody tweet this. I don't know if that's part of the joke. Is it? And Stephanie's here, by the way. Shout out, Stephanie. You can hop in here.
What
as
up?
well
What up?
If you want to say it? Is it round peg in a square hole, or square peg in a round hole? Because holes are round, so it should be square peg in a round hole. These things don't fit; they're incompatible.
What's a square hole?
That's what the guy said, and it had 10,000 likes and retweets.
Oh,
and everything.
well, I guess you could have a hole that's a square shape.
And he was,
but wouldn't a round peg fit in a square hole? I feel like it could if it's a small enough. I guess you could say that about a small square too. That's a tough. I think scholars have been debating this for a long, long time. I would say square peg in a round hole, but aren't most holes you assume are round?
Yeah.
So it seems odd to specify that it's
like a donut hole. Stephanie, no opinion on this whatsoever?
All right, fine.
I am the outlier. Just judging based on the amount of vitriol I get from people in terms of man, you don't get it. This is Jimbo's fault. I'm the outlier then in terms of I thought whatever Jimbo left here was going to be pretty instantly cured by what Willie was going to bring. Just because, again, I'm leaning on people, and this is my own fault. I wasn't here. I wasn't here in 2017. I didn't live it.
Right.
I didn't. But if everything was as bad as people portray it to be, lack of accountability, he doesn't care about them going to class, he doesn't care about them at all, he's not calling them and telling them that he's leaving, All these things, him not being engaged, right? Like we're thinking that he's
Right.
probably. I mean, A&M people called it in September when they blew that game against UCLA. That Brett Zwimmer or whatever the guy writes in Houston is like the name that we're hearing right now. If Kevin Sumlin's probably not going to make it through the season is Jimbo Fisher, and that guy stuck by it the entire time. So again, you had a coach who wasn't engaged, had a quarterback who I still think James Blackman, true freshman, and Jimbo's offense is much more of a daunting task than a hobbled DeAndre Francois and Willie Taggart's offense.
Sure.
By the way, too, if Willie just gets a really good quarterback, I think a lot of this gets healed too. We talk about offensive line, this and that. If he gets a really good quarterback,
Get a kid like not currently, but the UCF kid running around, slinging it everywhere. I mean, he would be perfect in an offense like this.
that'll fix a lot of the blemishes.
You
but
can
those
move
guys
around and make plays on the run. Yeah, of course.
It's tough to find them. But when you add all those things up that Jimbo left behind, it just felt like, well, if you're going to have a coach who this is his dream job, he wants to be here, right? That means so much to millionaire Danny Cannell. Danny Cannell gushing about it's important to me that we have a guy who wants to be the head football coach of Florida State. The positive energy, the music, the good vibes. We're all in this together. All this kumbaya stuff. You figure, okay, that's enough to fill a couple of these holes, get you to 8 wins. The 10-win thing. I said 10 wins all season long. That was obviously way too overly optimistic. But surely, just a guy who wants to be here, who's actively engaged in coaching and game planning, well, surely they're not going to be this bad. And people, what would the record be if Jimbo was here? I don't know if they lose at Virginia Tech with Jimbo. Really don't know if they're going to come out the gates looking that bad with Jimbo.
No.
Don't think so. I don't even know if I still think they could probably hang with Syracuse. I think they would hang with Syracuse with him. I think they would have found a way to hang with Syracuse, and maybe they can win that one late. Maybe they lose it late, too. They barely beat Syracuse the year prior. I get it.
I think his offense hides a bad offensive line a little bit better than Willie's did.
Which is
obviously.
crazy.
Isn't that crazy? But it's the truth. But still, I mean, it's whatever. He probably would have extended the bowl streak. But I don't know that as long as he kept Rick Trickett and as long as he kept these other guys, what does it matter? Are you going to need another incredible perfect storm of recruiting to get back to a championship caliber? And the fact is he left. He wasn't fired. He left. So it's not like it was Florida State's fault. He left for a lot of money, and good job. But the guy they got is a really likable guy. But as I wrote in last December, and as I wrote in March, and as I wrote in August and September, all this stuff is cool, man. Everybody loves him. You can't look like this. You got to win games or it won't last. And all his goodwill was built up with a 3-point showing in the opener. That all was it was crippled right out of the gate, and so he's got to win it back, man.
And nothing got fixed. I mean, nothing got fixed after 24-3. Nothing got fixed at all. People. Again,
it was a tough schedule. Fine.
Nothing got fixed.
You can play good teams and lose still. You can at least look competent. You know what I mean? You don't have to lose every game by 4 touchdowns. You don't have to against good teams. So his highlight is a win over a 7-5 Boston College team where he had to miracle it because Adazio wouldn't go for a yard, and the Wake Forest game. That's not a great first season, but again, 2020. That's the year I'm looking at. That because there will be no excuses then.
What are we going to do for the next 16 months?
No,
then,
I mean
man?
they can. I'm obviously looking forward to 2019. I can't believe football season's over for us.
It's over.
It's crazy. But I'm not expecting, a huge turnaround. 2020 is when they need to be back to a championship caliber roster. They need to have a championship caliber coaching staff. I'm not kidding. They need to cut out the morning practice bullshit. Hey, you got to say it. You got to say it about something not nearly as important as my mornings.
Racism isn't as important as your early wake-up clock.
Yeah.
Although, good Lord, that was the colliding forces in my life. Waking up Saturday morning, I'm like, how much I hate Florida, how much I love sleeping in.
Yeah,
what do I want?
15 mornings you had to sleep in now.
And but I didn't want. I would have woken up. I'd wake up. I'd do it for all of you. I'd wake up at 4 a.m.
I wonder
for the next 30 days if we were still playing football.
Do NFL teams practice in the morning?
Morning-ish, I think
Probably
they
like
do,
11,
but that's their full-time job.
But that's what they do. Like,
that's
these kids have class, number one, and also they're 19-year-old college kids away from home for the first time. Yeah. How often are they going to bed at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m.
Right.
to make sure they're up by, local news is on, time to go to bed, got to get up.
Kimmel's on, turn it off, babe. We got to go to
bed.
God,
it's the same Trump jokes over and over. So Do you learn well at 9 o'clock in the morning? This team, and this is my point. That's sort of tongue in cheek.
Right. It is, folks. Like, we don't like waking up early, but we understand.
We can do
we're
it.
just two dudes
Nobody
that
feels
work.
bad for us. But
we're just trying to have some fun with.
You better change the way you practice.
Yeah.
You better. And whether you change the time of day or you change who's running the practice or what kind of drills you're running or how long it lasts or the tempo, whatever you got to do, you need to change it because this nonsense didn't work. It didn't take with this group.
They didn't fix anything.
And most of these guys are coming back next year. And are you going to keep practicing the exact same way? Because that stuff did not work at all. And I'm not talking about the music, just the tempo of practice, the way you practiced. You better be self-evaluating and changing things up because this ain't it.
Last thing I'll say before we go.
And again, not because they lost. You can lose with a bad roster. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's because how you looked losing. The penalties are nuts. They're nuts. Running guys off on the field with 10 seconds left in the play clock. A Florida kid telling you, hey, man, you only got 10 guys on offense. A Florida kid telling you that. In the 12th game of the season.
In Doak.
But the 12th game of the season. That's the concerning part. Not that Willie can't get guys here. Not that he's not going to have more success than this because I think both of those are happening. But is he going to have enough success? And if he keeps doing this, if he doesn't change anything. And I think he will. I think he knows he's got to.
Yeah, I think he's got to make drastic changes.
Yeah,
I'm afraid that he's not going to. Like, I think I don't want to put numbers on things, but 4 of those guys, you got to get rid of 4 assistants. I mean, you got to have 4 different voices in that room. I don't think you can just put 2 different voices in that room.
You need to go find. I'm serious. And this is not a joke. You need to go look at whatever those S&P lists are for the best special teams in the country, the FEMRAL stuff. Go find one of those top 5 guys. I'm sure some of them aren't at Power 5 schools, or even if they are, they're not at Florida State. Tell him you'll double his salary, but he's coming, and he's fixing your special teams. He's fixing them. That right there keeps you in games. I don't know
if you need to invest that much. You just need to have some guy that can count to 11.
No, I mean, you got to have a guy that knows how to develop a blocking scheme where guys don't block in the back on every return.
Not too.
You need to know to tell the kid, hey, if he coffin corners it 2 yards deep in the corner of the end zone, dude, take a knee. We need the ball at the 25, not the 6.
And if they hit a line drive at you, bring it out.
Yeah. Recover a punt. The only guy that covers punts is your best receiver.
Yeah. A couple quick things. I just think, the good and the bad of this is that the good news is that it's not going to get worse. It's not going to get worse.
I agree with that.
The bad news is there's no promise that it's going to get significantly better next year.
Yeah.
And I think people
that's the worry, right?
want significantly better next year. And then, like you've said, we might have to wait till 20 for that to happen. The thing that concerns me about recruiting is that he's making it sound like, there's names, there's stars, there's All-American, parade guys, whatever you want. Not even parade. Does parade even do an All-American list anymore? Parade?
I don't know. I think they might be out of business.
Yeah, Under Armour, U.S. Army, All-American, all that kind of stuff. He's like, we got to recruit, players that want to be here we have to go into these homes and find out what kind of kids these are. As if, Jimbo and the other 9 dwarves just didn't do any research, didn't do any oppo on these kids. They just, tape looks good, bring him in. But who are you going to recruit? Are you just going to go after kids that are just hungry, that are under recruited, guys like Keyshawn Helton? Is that your blueprint? Is that a sustainable blueprint to win national championships?
Not at Florida State.
I just don't think it's going to be.
Typically you want a guy like that, but in an NFL body.
Yeah,
that's what you're looking for. Guys that quite frankly, a guy like Jaden Woodby, who he's not a great linebacker. I don't think he should be playing linebacker. I think that's part of your issue. He needs to be somewhere not 4 yards close to the 4 yards toward the line of scrimmage. But that is a kid that, he said, Willie, when we asked him in July, said he could run for president one day.
Right.
And if you follow him on Twitter, he's a socially conscious kid. He is a bright kid. He's engaged. I'm sure he gets really good grades. You need that kind of stuff, man. Right. You need prideful people. You need people with pride. You need just prideful people. I don't think there's a ton of that on this roster that just have pride. And, you look at the flag situation after the game. I know Willie said what he said, that he didn't want his players getting involved. That's why he wanted to be involved with it. But, man, yeah, you kind of do. You kind of do. You'd like to have a roster. Just imagine somehow
2012.
The 2012 Florida game. If Timmy Jernigan and Brian Stork and LaMarcus Joyner and Telvin Smith are all on the field, and my man Jeff Driscoll brings a flag and tries to plant it in the middle of the field, what kind of melee would have ensued?
Right. Nah, fam.
It ain't happening.
Nah, bruh.
It's not even happening. Yeah. And it wouldn't have taken Jimbo and Odell to stop them from doing it. I mean, it would have been like a game of Red Rover. Like they would have been running full speed clotheslining those fools if they were trying to do that. And that just there's not a lot of that on this football team too. Again, there's a lot. It's a much bigger mess obviously than even we thought it was. And we knew it was a big. I knew because I lived it. I knew it was a big mess last year.
I feel like we didn't even talk about the game, really. We just talked about existential future stuff.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where we are, man. The special teams was terrible. Offense couldn't really move consistently. Defense got gashed.
It was 13-7 at halftime, despite all that.
And then the defense lets them go right down the field. That's a wrap. And, then Stanford Samuels with the crazy punch that gives them a touchdown. And then the very next drive, Dontavius Jackson does the exact same thing, just doesn't get caught. On a third down stop. Punches the guy blocked them onto the ground because that's what a lineman's supposed to do. I know Dontavius isn't used to it from his own guys, but some some linemen in this country actually try to put people on their backs, and he starts punching them in the face, and they just didn't call it. So Florida State did get the ball back, but you just gave up a touchdown because of that, and you did the exact same thing again. And he's a good player.
We're almost done, Steph.
And he's a good player.
Yeah.
Stanford Samuel's a good player.
Yeah.
Those are guys that are going to be starting next year. Yeah. Get it cleaned up, guys. Just get it cleaned up.
What I did want to say is that here's some optimism for you. When you think about the guys that he's recruited, Jaden Woodby, that's a Willie guy.
Yeah.
Willie brought in. Trayshawn Harrison, that's a Willie guy. We'll see. I mean, he's got tools. Keyshawn Helton, Willie guy. Dennis Briggs, Willie guy. Those kids look pretty good for true freshmen.
Yeah.
The offensive linemen, I don't think are ready. We'll see Christian Meadows, Christian Armstrong, how they heal, if Chaz Neal can ever be anything.
Gonna need them to. Gonna need those guys to.
And those are like 4-star kids. Those were highly recruited kids. Xavier Peters. I mean, these kids were and he flashed in practice. We haven't seen him on the field. So I mean, there is the hope that Willie does have a good eye for talent as well. It's not just lip service that he's gonna do all this stuff and try to find the right character kid. And he went and found in 35 days or less than 30 or however many days he had to salvage his early recruiting period class. I mean,
what was that, like 20, right?
Yeah,
early
something nuts. Period? I mean, he figured it out. So I just don't want to. 2019 is going to be a bummer. I want to get better now, man. I want to wait.
Well, they could. I mean, they could. It is an easier schedule. Golly, they need to beat Boise State.
Oh yeah.
And put up like 50 somehow. I don't know who your quarterback's going to be. Maybe Jalen Hurts. Somehow have somebody run around that can put up 40 or 50 points and get the fan base back on board. And again, not that Florida State is in a position where they can shrug off any win, but like some 16-14 win. I mean, even Boise State will be ranked and probably be pretty good. It's something you should celebrate, sure, but that ain't going to get people all warm and fuzzy. Yeah. Eking out a 2-point win against the kids from Idaho, that's not going to be fun.
And also, I don't want to go down a down note, but this probably is going to be down. So what happened at the end of the game? Did Logan Tyler go sing the fight song with the band, and he was the only one that did it?
No, Logan Tyler always does what he did. I've seen him do it because I'm always on the field at the end of the games. Yeah. He does it all the time. He goes and by himself and what is he like
a moment of retrospection or something?
Yeah, he just sits there and kneels at the end of the game. He's done it for every home game that I've seen.
Okay.
So I don't think it was like him going by himself and all his teammates didn't join him. Did he go to that side of the field?
I didn't even see. I just
usually he goes to the end zone where the locker room is and just takes a knee there for a few moments.
Oh, hey, real quick. I know we say we got to go. Florida State falls short in the Advocare, whatever it's called, to Villanova. How do they look? I didn't watch any of the game. I was just depressed.
They didn't play well offensively, but, man, they guarded. Like, what's encouraging when you look at this basketball team is they played a lot. It was a lot like a 2010 Florida State basketball game. The Luke Laux, David Stolke's games, like the 50. Like I think the score at halftime was 25-24. And it's Villanova. Yeah. I know they lost a couple games early, but those dudes lighted up against almost everyone. And in their last game, Villanova made 15 3-pointers. They were 15 of 40. Jeez. They only took 15 2-point shots. They took 40 3-pointers, and they blew out Oklahoma State, just like they blew out Canisius the game before by raining threes. Well, Florida State said you're not doing that, and they didn't. They hit 3 threes the whole game, and one was with a crazy hand in his face. Now, they got some open looks that they missed, but Florida State took that away. Villanova made a lot of mid-range shots. They were 20 of 29 from 2-point range, and that's why they lost. But they only gave up In theory, they give about 60 points to the defending national champs. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I know they lost some guys, but Villanova's still Villanova, and they're really well coached. Florida State just got 2 points from MJ Walker. Trent Forrest didn't do anything until late. Terrence Mann had 9. Savoy hit 1 shot. They didn't get a lot from their starters. And Cabangeli missed a critical 1-on-1 at the end of the game that could have cut it to 1. But they were right there, not playing well, and still without Kofor. And with one of their starting guards combined for like 3 baskets, and they almost beat the defending national champs. What was crazy is it felt like a Villanova home game.
Yeah, that made me angry. I did
Orlando.
have that on in the back, and I could hear them. Like, I'd hear a big pop, and I'd run into the living room, and it's like, Villanova with the basket. Like, what?
It's in Orlando.
Go back to Philadelphia.
I guess because they used it as like a vacation. Like these Villanova fans,
Yeah.
they get to go to Orlando instead of going to crap-ass Pennsylvania and having to live there.
Oh, easy.
Well,
it's
just
hard to
'cause-
be humble when you're from Pennsylvania.
Just because of the one sitting next to me. She's from Pennsylvania. But so people, why would you want to be there in November? So I guess Villanova scooped up all the tickets. But, yeah, it was like 100 Florida State fans, 200 Florida State fans, and like 2,000 Villanova fans. So it was like a road game almost. But, I was encouraged. I thought that they got 2 wins down there, which they needed. The offense wasn't good in really any of the games, shooting-wise. But, I think they showed again that they can be not like 2010 era defense, but close enough to it. And they're gonna, when they get Kofor back, they're gonna be able to score something.
Florida State's in the Final Four. This whole football season will be an afterthought. When Mike Martin's getting carried off the field in Omaha with a championship trophy, all this will just be.
Krikorian's hoisting up another trophy.
Yeah,
in
shout out. They
soccer.
took down Penn State, the women and the ladies.
They're in the Final Four, which is next weekend in Cary, North Carolina, playing Stanford, I believe.
Are we going up for that?
Of course. Well, Warchant's going to be your game day home for all things FSU women's soccer.
Okay.
I think they play on Friday against Stanford, and then if they win that, they play Sunday for the national championship.
Sweet. Oh, you want to give a shout out real quick to somebody?
No. Oh, yeah. Sorry. She just reminded me. Alexander was our Lyft driver. Sorry, I don't want to give. He was our driver.
Yeah. Our driver.
Our driver for the weekend, and was actually very complimentary of the show, even though he's a Gator fan. In fact, he looked at me. We were talking. I said something about being in the press. I think it was Friday night, right? And I said something about being in the press box.
So wait, like he literally drove you guys all weekend long?
No, just the one day.
I'm like,
Sorry, but I was trying to think of what night it was. Yeah, I hired him for the weekend. People do that, right? That's normal. What kind of Lyft do you have? Because my app, I can just hire drivers for the weekend.
It's like you're with me for the weekend.
But he turned around and was like, "Hey, what's your name?" And I go, "Corey." And I said, "Corey Clark." He's like, "Yeah, I listen to you." And he said, a buddy of his, maybe a cousin, told him about us, our show, Wake Up Warchant. He goes, I'm a Gator fan.
Not a headlines guy?
No. I don't know if he knew headlines. I think she asked him which one, and he said Wake Up Warchant.
Damn right.
And yeah, he said he's a Gator fan, but he likes us so much that he listens to us anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, so there you go.
See, I almost think I know we're a Warchant.com property, but I like college football. I want to talk about college football.
Hey, man, what the hell are we going to talk about for the next 6 weeks? It ain't Florida State football.
Yeah, a lot of openings out there. North Carolina's got an opening. Texas Tech's got an opening. Texas Tech's AD said that we're going to be elite in football again soon. We will be elite in football soon.
Did he say again?
He said again. I'm like, when?
When was this?
When did this happen?
This era.
Kirby Hocutt. This guy was the president of the College Football Playoff Committee last year, too. This guy's talking about being elite again?
Mike Leach got him like top 5 1 year, right?
Yeah, that's right, Crabtree. All right, we've kept everybody here for probably too long. I don't know what we're going to do in the coming days and weeks to follow, folks. I don't want to sit here and bore you for 50 minutes a day, but I know some of you want to be bored in your car with company.
I'll be honest with you, folks. You know I love you. I stress that every week. Literally, I do. But some of them might be 11-minute long shows or 19 minutes, 6 minutes.
Just checking in, we're alive.
Just check in, we're alive.
Love you.
We'll tell you what's on warchant.com, tell you about deals. But, yeah, I don't know that we got to do 50 minutes for a football season that's over.
Yeah.
And basketball hadn't even started conference play yet, so just saying.
But recruiting news will have you covered, and whatever sort of coaching changes are likely on the horizon, be locked into warchant.com. Use the promo code WARCHANT30 to check it out for 30 free days. All right, Corey, let's just shake hands.
Shaking my hand?
Yeah.
Hey, good season. Good first season for you
right,
and I.
Right, my first
Don't blame us. I know it was the first year of Wake Up Warchant, but do not blame us. It's not our fault. We did not jinx this thing.
Talk to you all later.